Hi there, welcome to the Nitty Gritty Writing Podcast. I'm Simon Cantan.
And I'm Dave Higgins.
And with us we have a special guest. We have Edward Sullivan. Hey,
Hello.
Edward.
Hi.
And this week we're going to be talking about staying positive when you're not making massive amounts of sales. But before we do that, we'll do our weekly roundup. Edward, would you like to go first?
Okay. This week, haven't been terribly productive. Got a few thousand words of a new project. It's I'm going to say space western. I bought a cover which I liked, which showed a female robot kind of cover. Main on the cover, it's like a female robot with a cowboy hat and a pistol. And I wanted to do something with that cover. I really liked it, so I purchased it. I ran through about 3 or 4 different ideas and finally settled on what I have, which is, I guess, kind of a Westworld meets High Plains Drifter.
Ooh.
Very, very delicate balance with the sci-fi and Western. Much harder than I thought it was, but it is coming along. I don't know. Am I able to screen share? Does that work?
Be able to, I think. If you see on the left-hand side, there's a green screen picture with an arrow on it.
There we go. So did that come up?
Yep.
Let's see. I wonder if I can make that. There we go. That's more. So, and that's that's another pseudonym that's not off of the cover yet. It will be a David Ownerslew project, but that is another pseudonym that. And now let's see. What do I do to take you off of the screen?
You're back to yourself now.
Okay. So doing that and then honestly cleaning the barn, taking the air conditioners out, draining the pool. It's about to become fall in the States. So I have a humongous honey-do list from my wife. That's my week.
I was going to say that it's a good fit for time with the Westworld thing, with the series coming out next month.
Oh, I would love to. But unfortunately, it seems to take me about 1.5 years to get a book done. So maybe if it takes off and I'm still catching the wave, but
yeah.
Well, I guess, and also this is not this week, but it's only the 17th. So I just wrapped on the September issue of Cheap Jack Pulp, which is the quarterly pulp fiction magazine that I founded and edit. And honestly, this one's a pretty good one because someone that wrote for it this month won an Emmy for screenwriting with Steven Spielberg.
Oh, wow.
Asked me how I got him as a writer. I do not know. He found me and thought that I was kind of underground cool, I guess. And he did a mini series on sci-fi called Taken, which he did the screenplay and then he co-executive produced it with Steven Spielberg and won an Emmy. And then he wrote a nice short story, almost sub-novelette for me for this month on Cheap Jack Pulp. And actually that's up for free right now at cheapjackpulp.com.
Cool.
Yep.
And while we're on plugs, we should also mention your great book, your Sixth Thane Queen. Yes,
wonderful title. I struggled with that. It's got some very highfalutin words in it. Not a lot of people fling around Thane and Queen with an A, but by the time it was written, I didn't have a better title. And it is my first novel. It came out in pieces, so it was serialized. It is finished, and it is the season 1 of a world I created called Cacotopia, which is a synonym for dystopia. And there are 7 sequels outlined. So, and the second one is actually about 5,000-6,000 words in, and cool. That's going to be pretty exciting.
Cool. Dave, do you want to go next?
Okay, another episode of Seven Stones, planned out, written, edited, and published in various places. Reached the last scene of a short story I'm writing for an anthology, so if I can get that cracked out the next couple of days, I should be able to get it edited by the end of the month, which will be good. What else have I done in the last week? I think that's it.
Okay. For me, I had a book. I mentioned last Saturday. A book came out, and I put that into Kindle Unlimited. And now I'm seeing all the page reads, which I can see why people are saying they can't leave Kindle Unlimited once they get sucked into it. So I've been wide on everything for a couple of years. I tried Kindle Unlimited on a bunch of different stuff, and it's never worked for me. But with this vampire novel, I guess maybe my wife reads the vampire stuff, and she reads a lot when she reads very quickly. So maybe Kindle Unlimited makes a lot of sense for those the people who read that genre, because they're reading quickly. So they don't have to buy a bunch of books. So I got about 50 sales last Saturday on the launch, which is the best I've ever had. It's not like massive numbers, but 50 is pretty good for a genre I've never written in before, a subgenre at least. And then every day since, I've been looking at the page reads, and it's about 2 people reading the full book per day.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good.
So someone at work pointed out, though, because it's only total number of pages read, that could be 10 people starting the book and then throwing it away. But I'm being optimistic.
Work colleagues are always so supportive, aren't they?
I finished, and I'll come clean. I used Kindle Unlimited. I finished the book. So I don't know how many page reads a finish comes through as, but I finished.
Cool. So yeah, that was that book. Otherwise, I've been editing Sorcery, which is the third title. The first one's just a short read, but third title in Dragons and Magic that's coming out in November and December this year. And that's I've just been having ideas, lots and lots of ideas. I was in the car with my wife today, and I said, well, you read the vampire genre, so you must have ideas about what would be cool that you've never seen in a book. And she said, oh no, I mean, I just read them, I don't have any ideas. And 2 minutes later, she'd come up with the most amazing idea ever that I've never heard of anyone using before. So just like people are always saying, oh, I could never come up with all the ideas you come up with. And then you just prompt them a little bit and they come up with amazing ideas for books, because everyone watches TV shows and films and reads books and goes, you know what would be really cool is this, but then thinks that that's not important. They don't write it down. They've no way of writing a book about it, so they just forget it. So it was really cool.
Commercial. Well, I started with you guys. I read Green Star season 1, and I did. I wanted to read the bitter end stuff for you. By the way, congratulations on Green Star, because it was both of you did a bang up job, and I did try and get into bitter end, but then I read Blood Cruel, and I will say, Simon, that Blood Cruel, commercially, that is the best thing I've seen from you. It's cool. It's a little more commercial, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that explains why you possibly be making more money, because it is very good. It's right down the middle as a writing for market, I think.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of the intention, both with that and with Fields of Dust that's coming out on the 1st of October, was to try that a bit, to see if I could write to a specific genre, but without putting enough of myself into it that it wasn't, it didn't feel like I was being a hack and just writing for money. So, yeah, That's good. It worked.
Well, I don't think it seemed hackish at all. I think it seemed that you did exactly what you intended to do, which was write a vampire novel that was slightly young adultish, slightly to market, and I think you added well to the subgenre that you attempted to write in. It's good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So we can probably go on to our topic, which is keeping positive when you're not making amazing progress day to day, because it's a very slow thing, writing books. So I've struggled with this on and off, because I go between if I earn nothing at all, I'd still be writing. And yeah, but it'd be nice to not have a day job, to get paid enough that I could do this all day long. Because my day job, I think I've mentioned often enough, is fine. It's not a bad day job. It's just when I have free time, I spend it writing without, there's no one who has to say, okay, this is your 9 to 5, sit here and do your job. But at the same time, you kind of then look at like 50 sales, that, as I just mentioned, is great for me. But 50 sales is never going to pay the mortgage. And you kind of, there's the two sides of it, that you have a day job and you want to not have a day job is the main thing, because then you can just do what you love all day long. I think is that like I should mention Edward raised the topic on email. So is that kind of what the situation you're in as well?
Yes. Yeah. A similar situation. I like my day job. It's probably the best day job I've had in my adult life. But I really would love to write for a living. The logic being that doing what you love for your income, rather than doing something that you're doing for income, just for income. And again, I'm nowhere near. I would say that the sales that you're talking about for Blood Cruel are probably double or better my best effort to date, if it continues the way you're talking about. So, I am at a point where this is definitely for love of craft rather than for money.
I mean, to put it in perspective as well, when the first Bitter End book sold 2 copies, I think, in the first month. So even with me telling family and friends, I've finally written a book, it only sold 2 copies. So it is a very it's a thing that I've got some people who are fans of mine who will read everything I write, and they're very useful as an encouragement kind of thing. Like starting a mailing list and having a inner circle has kind of helped a lot, because even when you're not selling very much, at least they're leaving reviews and writing your emails and saying, I really like this one, or I mentioned last week, like saying, oh yeah, your books always start slow. that it's someone who knows your books at least.
Yeah.
Which I did not see in this last one. I think you said that, but I did not see that. Just to mention, I didn't feel that way.
No, that was about Fields of Dust, which is the one that's coming out in October, which hopefully I've fixed. So I don't know if I talked about this, but I had these flashbacks, and then in editing I went, no, take the flashbacks out, and then I just put them back in again. That was essentially the editing I did. Like my first instinct was correct, and then when I went back and edited it, I messed it up. Which I've wondered a lot about. Like I was watching a thing with Dave Grohl talking about his music, and he was saying that he won't edit out the mistakes they make in the recording studio that other bands would. Other bands would go in and say, oh, well, that drum isn't, it's a little bit off beat, so we'll fix it. So it's exactly on beat. And, you know, you're a little bit pitchy on the singing, so we'll, you know, auto-tune it so it fits. And he said, well, that takes out all of the flavor of the band. And I wonder in editing if sometimes there can be a temptation to overdo it. So you should fix spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes and things that don't make sense, but you might kind of go too far and take out the flavor, take out the bits that are you.
Yeah, I've noticed that with Seven Stones, that the first several episodes, I edited them really hard, that several times before I published each one. And then after sort of 5 or 6 episodes, it's saying, well, I'm doing this as a weekly serial, so it's eating up a lot of my time editing something 3 or 4 times every single week. So I cut back to just doing a redraft and then a fix on it. And when I came to do the compilations, the amount of re-editing I needed for the things I'd obsessed over 4 or 5 times was the same as the amount I needed for episodes I'd only edited once. So I think really it's not, you need to give yourself a bit of distance and then do the editing. And very quickly you get to a point where you're not actually making a difference that's going to be noticeable to even yourself potentially when you come back to it later.
Yeah, I mean, I use Pro Writing Aid that I've talked about. I've been using it this week on Sorcery, and for the first season of Green Star, maybe, or the second season of Green Star, I would go through and obsessively change. So it tells you when you've done stuff too many times, the same sentence structure too many times in a chapter. And I would go in and say, okay, I'll vary the sentence structure in all these chapters. And now what I do is I go in and say, okay, if there's 2 in a row, then I'll change it. But otherwise, who cares? If it's 2 paragraphs apart, no one's going to even notice. So it's not worth the effort to do. But going back to our positivity thing, so I think it's always down, for me, it's always down to reframing it in some way. So one thing I've been thinking about this week is, so, okay, I have a day job, but at the same time, I have a day job. If I want to write something really weird for 3 months that's not likely to sell any copies, I can do that. Because my source of income is not dependent on me satisfying a market or getting lots and lots of readers in. So
that's true. Yeah.
So like I've been experimenting this year. I mean, all of my stuff is, I could be writing comedic fantasy forever and just trying to get more and more readers in. Or I can go, okay, well, this year I'm going to write some urban fantasy and post-apocalyptic. And I think as well that you get the option then to write what you're truly passionate about. And when you're writing what you're truly passionate about, that's when you're most, I don't know, this is apocryphal maybe, but I think it's when you're most likely to actually make an impact on the people who are reading it. That you're writing something that you're going, this is what I really care about. I really, really want to write this. And it might take years, but the people who find it will go, this is awesome. I really, really want to read this. Rather than if you're depending on that paycheck, either with a traditional publisher who's telling you, well, what's popular this season is Hunger Games, so write Hunger Games. Just, change a few names around. Whereas with a day job, you can just say, screw it, I'll write what I'm passionate about. I mean, that's the whole point of it anyway.
Yeah, that's that kind of cuts both ways. What you just said, in relation to me, I write some stuff that is what makes me feel like a sellout, and that I end up dropping because I'll start something under a pseudonym that's I don't know, erotica or Christian romance, and that's not my thing, and I'll get about 10,000 words into it and say I don't feel this, even though I know that there's places where you can if not strike gold, you can still kind of pull copper out of, and I kind of put them aside, and I keep coming back to what makes me excited and what I feel like people that I know would be excited about.
Yeah, I mean, so you don't want to ape what? So someone has mentioned this week about Bitter End. They said when they started reading it, they just saw carrot and vines from Terry Pratchett's books. So they said Osric is just Vimes and Tomber is just carrot, which I can't. I mean, I've read all those books, and that was one of the influences of starting the whole series. Was kind of like a guards thing. So I can't say that that's not the case. But they said after they'd read half of the first book, they went, "Oh, there is something. They aren't just copy pastes of those characters." So you don't want to completely ape things that you love, but you can always think of a way that something you love could be done a slightly different way. There's always something. There's always something to do in any genre. Like even I thought of an idea the last week or so about the superhero genre, where I went, oh yeah, I don't think I've seen that, and it's not like amazing like idea. It's not something I'd jump on to write immediately, but superheroes have been done a lot in the last 10 years, but there's still ideas out there. So if there's ideas for them, there's ideas for anything. Like even zombies, there's ideas for zombie things out there that still haven't been done. The trouble is most people are just copy pasting what they've already seen.
Right. The one thing that's a positive and a negative that keeps me going is shiny syndrome. If I get bored with the project I'm working on, something else will excite me. So while that holds me back on a particular project, I find that keeps me going as an author, because if I get sick of what I'm doing, I'll still sit down and start 3,000 words of a new project. That project may die on the vine, and like I said, it may put me behind schedule on whatever I'm working on, but it keeps me excited and it keeps me feel like I'm creating. So it's a plus and a negative. It's a negative to the project that I'm focusing on, but it's certainly a plus that it keeps me excited and working and feeling like I'm a writer.
I think there's a danger to that in some ways, because if you're working on something that's novel length, that there are going to be boring stages of writing a book. Like I've mentioned before, I always get stuck at about halfway through. Halfway through, I go, "This is terrible. This is the worst book I've ever written, and I should drop it." And after so many books, I know that that's going to happen. So I then go, "Yeah, but you said that about the last book and the book before that and the book before that," and the reviews have always been positive. People always like them, so just keep writing. So it can be a danger there. At the same time, I've had books where I really, really wanted to write them, and then they get written really quickly. When I actually sit down and start writing them, it's just done, because I've been waiting to write them for such a long time.
I started as a flash fiction author when I really got into this, and so that kept me going. But and actually, I've been accused. I have a 16 Queen. It came out as a serial. I've been accused of writing 50 short stories, that all tie together. And I can see that when I read it through back afterwards. I see 50 short stories because the formula fits every chapter. But I hope that just made it a page turner rather than 50 short stories. But because I don't think some of them would have stood on their own. But definitely see the rise and fall. So I think that's how I actually got my first novel length work out, was by writing 50 pieces of a story that all had the up and down of a work.
Well, I mean, that's what they say, they recommend anyway, that each chapter should be a story in itself, that it should have its own kind of beginning, middle, and end. And then within a chapter, each scene should have its own beginning, middle, and end. And within each scene, each paragraph should have its own. I think there's a danger there of just overthinking things.
It does start to get a bit onerous after a while. It's like, okay, well, how am I going to put a narrative arc in this sentence?
I think.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. It wasn't.
I was going to ask if either of you feel reinvigorated, or if it gets your energy back up by spending money, because I find that spending money on my craft sometimes gives me my motivation back.
I don't think it motivates me in a sort of energy way. I think it motivates me in a not giving the project up way, because it's a sunk cost fallacy. But once you've spent money on it, I have another reason to try and get it out there, rather than go, oh, this isn't going anywhere, it's kind of terrible anyway, I'll put it aside. So once you've spent the money, you want to get it out just so you can get that investment back.
One thing that does motivate me is covers. So if so this week I made a cover for a book that I haven't even started outlining yet. So I can actually share it if anyone's interested in seeing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I've done this on a bunch of books recently, maybe the last year or so. So can you see that there? I might have to keep talking in order to make it come up. So there's nothing written. This is the second book in the vampire series. Since it was a success, I figured I'd write another one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, having a cover then makes me go, okay, well now I think I've mentioned I've started making my own covers more, because I've just been trying to make my own covers for so long that I've gotten to the stage where I'm okay at it. I'm by no means like a amazing cover designer, but a friend of mine, Jeff, is a graphic designer, and he looked at them and went, oh yeah, that's an okay cover. Whereas he's looked at my covers in the past and gone, can you let me do it? Like he's offered to help for free, and I've gone, no, I want to do this and I want to do that. And so I've had terrible covers. I probably still have a bunch of covers that aren't great. But anyway, going back to the original point is that having a cover already made does help a little bit with motivation. That it kind of gets me to go, okay, so this is going to be an actual book. I think I mentioned I've got up on the wall here, I've got printouts of the covers. So I can go, okay, well, these are the books that I'm writing. I'm in the process. So up there now is Sorcery and Under the Hex, which is a short, quick read I'm going to write for my mailing list. So I can look at them and go, okay, well, they're going to be on the bookshelf behind me there eventually. I've just actually ordered some paperback copies for a few books there as well. So that helps too, like a motivation to fill up that shelf. So yeah, there's a bunch of things. I don't know that spending is. So one thing that helps a lot is reading books on craft. So when I read the Johnny, Sean, and Dave's latest book, which is a while back now, I read a page and then went, okay, I'm going to go write something, and then went back and read a page and then went, yeah, no, I'm going to go write something. So every time I read a book on craft, I'm like, yeah, but this time I'm using on reading the book on craft, I could be writing, another 500 words or something. That helps. I think it definitely helps to have people out there, to know that there's other people out there doing the same thing.
I have a unique one. I get to pay authors for cheap jack pulp, and it also results in producing a work. So every 3 months, like it or not, I have something that's hitting Amazon on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited, and I have the opportunity, and I really do think of it as an opportunity, to pay 4 to 7 authors, not extravagantly, but I pay 4 to 7 people for their work, and I know that I'm generating an enormous amount of goodwill by giving people actual money for their work and putting it together in an issue. And that makes me feel kind of warm and fuzzy and makes me feel part of a community and kind of keeps me going.
Yeah. And I mean, that's an important thing to remember, is that there's a big community of people who, if you don't think of us as competing against each other, that we're all similar in that we want to write books and entertain readers, and there's a lot of us out there. But at the same time, there's a danger to think that everyone is like that, because if you surround yourself too much, you go, yeah, but everyone wants to be an author and everyone's writing.
I know. In my experience, a lot of them are. They're coming out of the woodwork. Nearly everyone I've spoken to this week has turned out to be writing a book.
Okay.
It's very freaky. They're not long-term friends that people I've known for absolutely yonks, but sort of someone you'd strike up a conversation with someone, you get past the point where it's just you happen to talk to them because you're talking to them, and once you pass that point, they're writing a book. It's a very odd experience, because that most people aren't actually writing a book, so just to have them pop up like that.
But is it like you buy a silver Avensis and then you just see silver Avensises everywhere? Is it that kind of thing?
Probably is, yeah. I've had a number of conversations that didn't mention anything to do with writing.
I mean, there's always the thing of, oh yeah, I'm going to write the next great American novel or whatever. Mm. But then they've only written 5 pages.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was the situation, or if they were saying, oh yeah, this is the 6th book in my series of, whatever.
Oh, no one. I haven't accidentally run across anyone who's that far into their writing career. But
I think that there would be a posture, wouldn't it? You kind of would be able to feel the vibe coming off of them if they were just starting their 7th book.
Yeah, that mixture of utter self-doubt and ruthless arrogance that you get. You're sort of vacillating between this is terrible and this is the greatest thing ever.
I don't know whether if you're writing your first book, you're talking to everyone about it. But by the time you're writing your 7th or 8th or 9th book, you're like, yeah, just haven't mentioned it to anyone.
Yeah. So you don't mention it. So after the third or fourth time that one of your best friends has sort of forgotten you're an author, it's like, oh, I just thought that was a hobby you did to pass the time. It's like, oh, good grief, you've known me for 20 years. can you not at least remember that I've like published several books? So this is probably not just a hobby. Because that's slightly demotivating. Right? Long-term friends, I assume it's just a hobby. No, I'm serious about this.
Oh yeah, well, I think that's kind of common. I mean, most of my friends, it's but I mean, it's fine, but don't quit your day job.
That's the point.
One friend even said, so I finished your first and second book and they're really good. So the third one in the series, so I had sent him on email. He said, so can you send me the rest of them? Because, I want to read them. Yeah, but they're on the freaking store. Go buy a copy. Seriously. But yeah, I don't know. Or another guy, a guy in work, a friend of mine in work, said, "Oh, I bought your book." I went, "Okay. I don't normally buy books, but because I know you, I bought your book. But most books I just pirate." Great, that's wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you. I think.
Yeah.
So does that mean if I become famous, then you'll pirate me instead of buying my book?
Well, then he'll ask for a signed copy so you can sell it on eBay.
I think I'd take it. If someone was out there making money off me signing copies of my books, I think I'd take that. That would be an okay situation to be in, because I don't think at the moment someone could make a profit by leeching off signed copies of my books.
Well, I just saw for Edward's book, for what was it, episode 2 or something, a paperback copy was $600.
Yes.
On Amazon.
Ooh.
Yes, because I put out the 7 episodes, and then I took them down when I was able to compile the entire thing, and someone has purchased, I don't know, one of the copies and stuck it on a shelf somewhere. And I would certainly like to get my 70% commission off of the $600 sale. Yeah.
But maybe one day when you're incredibly famous, that'll be worth $600 or more.
I won't sign it for them. They can go to hell.
Actually, as a bonus, one of my a compensation / bonus. I was doing a prize drawer, and I had 3 copies of one of my paperbacks to give away, and then one of the copies Amazon sent it, and in the post the cover got slightly bent. So I had a proof copy of one of my novellas that went into the second book in the Bitter End series. So I went, I can just send you this and I'll sign this. But that's the only one. No one ever bought a paperback copy of that novella. So that's the only one in existence, and it's signed. So maybe
I don't think anyone has a complete set of the paperbacks of 16 Queen in the individual episodes. Actually, I can say that nobody does. I don't think anybody has 1 through 6. I know nobody has 1 through 7, because when 7 was done, I spent my time and effort compiling it and not putting out a paperback copy of 7. So if I compile and just take 7 and do it the same as I did 1 through 6 in paperback, I could order 7, and the only one who had a complete set of 1 through 7 would be me. That would be helpful if I'm famous.
Yeah. But then, I don't know. At that stage, it might, people's goodwill might go down if you went, yeah, I'm only printing off copies for myself, and then I'm selling them for $600.
What a nice problem to have. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Yeah. So yeah, was there anything else on positive attitudes?
My family.
Yeah.
I find, especially my nuclear family, my daughter and my wife, they're much more supportive than you would think they would be, considering that it's not their thing. Especially my wife. The writing is not her thing, but she's a gigantic champion for me of, have you written this week? Are you going to write tonight? Why haven't you finished? In a nice way. She's a giant champion. And she is one of those people. You were speaking about how my wife has no idea of what I should write for the second book. My wife is also the epitome of that. I have no ideas. I couldn't write. I couldn't do what you do, but she's almost a little bit of a life coach. She knows it's what I want, so she will press me to hit my office and do something that will make me happy in the long run, even if I'm not in the mood.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife is kind of the opposite. She's like, "Oh, you wrote another one? Really?" So, yeah, and my kids could not care less, but then they're teenagers. I have a son who's 5, but the other 2 are 18, and they, are not interested.
My daughter is 9, and she actually is published.
Oh, wow.
So, not anything great. She's published for a flash fiction piece on Aphelion, the magazine of fantasy and science fiction, where I started as an editor. She was published for a flash fiction piece. So,
I mean, that's at 9. I wasn't published. I wasn't published at 34. So that's excellent. No, my nieces might be interested. My sister-in-law's mentioned that they have some interest in writing stories. Obviously, they'd be in Norwegian and not in English. So she said, "Can I help out?" And I said, "Oh, if anything I can do, as long as they are interested in it." That's like, I'm not going to force it down their throats and say you have to write books, but if they're interested, I'll definitely help out. My sons, so the 18-year-olds, they're artists, like graphically, more than writers. Which one of my sons has mentioned is kind of the curse of being a Cantan is. So in my family, like my family with my brothers and my sister, so I'm a writer. The next brother is a playwright. The next brother is a musician. The next brother is a doctor, so that's normal, I guess, and a normal paying job. And my sister is she's delivery for a fast food place, but she's trying to be a wedding dress designer. So it's just creative is kind of the family thing. So even we have a claim to fame that my great uncle or something is J.M. Singh, who wrote Playboy of the Western World, which is probably the most famous thing in our family. But that's obviously way back, and there'd be hundreds of people could say the same thing. But yeah, so my family wouldn't be a source of positivity for me, and neither would my co-workers. It's more online friends, like writers groups and things like that, I would say, in terms of support.
I have supportive friends. Not quite all of them understand, but many support. I have quite a few friends who are like, "You're an author, that's wonderful. I guess I'll read your stuff, but I don't normally read fantasy, or I don't normally read science fiction." So I have a lot of friends who are upbeat and positive. Not quite all of them understand what I'm going through.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing, because I'm always having conversations with people where I go, "Yeah, but I mean, not necessarily writing, but there must be something that your dream that you wanted to do your whole life." And they say, "No, I just want to work in my job and bring home money so I can feed my family, and that's it." And that's always seems weird to me. I know everyone's different, but it always seems like there should be something. I mean, it doesn't have to be writing. It doesn't have to be even artistic. It could be, I always wanted to play football, or I always wanted to do this or that, or like one friend always wanted to play professional football, and I said, "Well, he's 30 now," so I said, "Okay, well, you're not going to do that, but you could still play every single week and practice and go to training, all that kind of stuff. Just because you can't be a professional footballer and earn $10 million a week doesn't mean you can't follow that passion and do something with it.
I think that's the chicken or the egg. I think as creatives, we're uncomfortable in our own skin, no matter what. So you're talking about two different types of people. Some people are happy just drudging along. They're happy with their status quo. I think as creatives, we're uncomfortable in our skin. We're always looking. I venture to guess, and I certainly hope this for all three of us, if each of us was making a six-figure income off of writing, we would still be uncomfortable in our own skin and looking for the next angle, the next project. I think it's a reflection of the personality.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's the case. I mean, you see all the time that people in creative fields achieve success and then start doing drugs or commit suicide or all this kind of stuff because, well, wasn't this meant to make me happy? This was the whole point of doing it, was to make myself happy. And I think it's very important. I think because none of us are teenagers, we're not going to get thrust into that without knowing that that's not the whole point. No, I don't think any of us will think that, oh, well, if I was earning six figures a year on books, that suddenly my personality would change and I'd be excruciatingly happy and everyone would love it. And I think that might be one of our answers to the question is being happy with what you have and then being happy at that point too. But don't put the cart before the horse. Be happy with what you have as a creative. Be happy that you have a paperback to hold in your hand. Be happy that there's people out there who want to pay for what you're producing. Celebrate your little victories. Every time you see 3 purchases in a given day on Amazon, say, oh my God, there's 3 people out there who think I'm worth paying for. And then even if nobody's paying for what you're giving, say, oh my God, I am writing and I am on this website, or I can Google myself and see my work until, now I'm trying to put a time to it. Let's see, 16 Queen was started a year and a half ago. So that's this November would be 2 years. So November 16, I started November 14. The spring of 2014 was really when I started my career as an author. Prior to that, it was something that I had wanted my entire life from puberty and had too much fear to initiate. And my family said, stop talking about it and try doing it. And I started submitting short stories. I remember that when I started in the early spring of 14, and I was still ecstatic about the premise of having something accepted for free on a web magazine, still in the fall of. I spent months, even almost a year, where I was on a rush just because I was doing, not because I was succeeding, just because I was doing. I was excited. Yeah, and I think that's definitely the thing you need to hang on to and not get bogged down in the, like, it's very easy to get used to the status quo. And if you're earning, say you're getting 3 sales a day, you go, yeah, but it's just 3 sales a day. It's just 3 sales a day, 3 sales a day. It's never like 20 sales a day. And then you get 20 sales a day and you'll say, well, it's never 50 or 100 or whatever. There's always going to be a better step. And I think having something that you can turn around, as you say, if you go back in time, like, you can see the fact that those things didn't exist. All of us as authors are creating, even if you're not published yet, even if you've only written 1 short story, that short story did not exist in the world until you wrote it.
Yes.
It's ridiculously hard when you think about it from a certain perspective to actually finish a story. There's, if you think of all of the people who come up with an idea, but all of the people who actually get to writing any of that idea down, get to the end of the first draft, to actually have, I don't think probably I am happy enough about the fact that I've not got to the end of one thing. I've got to the end of lots of things and got them published. As I publish an episode of Seven Stones every week, and people read it, and people get in touch to say that they like it. And I think it's easy to fall into the trap that the episode I put up on Google Plus has got 10 plus ones. That's kind of cool, but no one's commented on it yet. It's that, but no one's commented on it yet. Your brain goes into the, oh, it could be better. Whereas, well, it doesn't actually matter if someone's commented on it. People don't comment on everything they love. If there's a like this button, if they click that because they like it, they don't have to, it's not any more liked if someone writes liked this. Whatever people say about how you should put comments rather than pluses or whatever, you do fall into the trap. So just sitting back and reminding yourself sometimes that someone got in touch to say, I liked this. Someone emailed you to say, this is great. Or your sad story made me cry. A couple of months ago, someone said that about one of my stories, that it made them cry. And I've been dining out on that to myself for weeks, that like, yay, I made someone cry.
I like that too. It's weird, isn't it? Because people have said to me, oh, you make me laugh. And that's fine. But then when someone says, oh, you made me cry, I'm going, oh, that's awesome. She's just writing melancholy stuff, make people cry all the time.
Yeah.
My goal is to scare someone. I have yet. That's what I'd like, because I find horror as a genre so hard to communicate through the written word, as opposed to the easy cheat of doing it on the screen. I'd like to write something someday where somebody is like, you scared me so badly that I was hiding under the covers, or the wind blew and I almost had a heart attack while I was reading your book. I think that would be wonderful.
That would be good, yeah.
I mean, the extremes of emotion are kind of the benchmarks. Like when someone, like if someone's watching something, they don't really care. I was watching Ark, the new Netflix show movie last night, and I did not care about any of the characters. Whereas I watch other things, and it can be the simplest scene in something you really care about, and you're going, oh, I really hope that they manage to get their Chinese takeaway or whatever it happens to
be. That sounds like something I would say. I hope they get.
Anyway, we're coming up on our usual time. So, was there any last thoughts on positivity?
Well, real quick, I don't know. Do we get any comments?
I didn't see any. I see we have one viewer though.
Oh. If that one viewer wants to identify themselves, they can they can have a copy of Six Staying Queen on me. They stuck through the episode, and I said one copy signed at my expense to whoever watched. So can they comment on YouTube, or can they comment on this?
They can comment on YouTube just by leaving a comment. I'm logged in there, so I can see it if they do. Okay, if they leave a comment, they get a book. And the most recent published version of Cheap Jack Pulp is free right now on Kindle. So everybody can have something free if they even listen anytime today. If this gets, I don't know, does this get up in one day? Or it's up on YouTube in one day. On iTunes, I usually do it the day after, because YouTube needs to.
I just wanted to create a no loser situation. They can grab Cheap Jack Pulp for free, or if that one person identifies himself, I'll give them a copy of the book for free. And in terms of wrapping it up on positivity, I think that this has been a tool in my tool belt in staying positive. Networking with other authors and doing something like this is something that this is probably going to leave me excited for at least a week, if not two, and then linger as a positive experience in my mind.
Cool. I feel the exact same way.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any comments, so I don't know. Maybe they don't want to, or maybe they're paused and off doing something else, or whatever they happen to be doing.
Or maybe it's me looking at the comments.
Oh yeah. Well, then we're just looking at each other then.
I looked on the video to see if anyone had commented before we wrapped up, and like it says one person watching, and I thought, wow, I wonder who they are.
Well, it said one viewer the whole way through. So if you only just went into it, then there is someone. But I don't know. As I say, they could have it paused or something. One way I was thinking you could do it is just to say, if you don't get a comment now, that the first person on Twitter to tweet at you to say, give me a free copy or something.
Absolutely. The first person on my Twitter, which is at E Sullivan. So that's at ESULLIVAN 240.
Cool. So hurry over there and send him a tweet.
Yes.
Grant, so we'll wrap up there. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.